Kingdom of Denmark is one of the oldest monarchy in Europe, with a long history that spans as far as 500 Anno Domini. With such a long history and great endurance that makes the kingdom and its people stand strong until today, it's such a shame that beside Vikings, little do the Indonesians know about the Danes. Right, on this episode of Foreign Insight, we'll have a chat with Ambassador Casper from the Kingdom of Denmark regarding on how Denmark was considered as the happiest country on earth in 2016, current economic situation, opinions on recent European unrest, and what's his opinion on Indonesia. First of all, thank you for having me here. Denmark is considered one of the happiest countries in the world. It's even it's the happiest country in the world. It's said so by the UN World Happiness Report in 2016. What is the definition of happiness according to the Danes?
Well, I don't think we have a special definition of happiness in Denmark, but apparently we are among the happiest nations in the world, and I think there are a number of reasons for that. It's not the weather, let me begin by saying that, because the weather does not necessarily make you happy in Denmark. But you know, we have a welfare system that has taken a long time to develop, which means that those who do not have a lot, or those that are poor off, they are being taken care of by the state through a welfare system, which means that they have access to some of the same privileges as the rest of the society. We have a very high tax rate as well, so that's not something that Danes would normally say that they're happy about. But I think what we get back for that is free healthcare, free education. It gives a lot of social mobility, and if I use myself as the example, I mean, I'm from a family where it was not necessarily obvious that I would go to university or you know, go into the foreign ministry. So in that sense, the welfare system, through paying for my education, made it possible for me to get a higher education and to enter into the foreign service. So it's also a very safe and secure environment. Crime rates are very low. And the last thing I would mention is that the livability of the Danish cities are very high. So if you go to Copenhagen, you will see a lot of bikes on the streets, not so much matchet with cars. And I think the friendliness of the cities are also one of the reasons why people are happy. And one of my favorite examples is the harbor of Copenhagen. You know, when I grew up, it was a very polluted and very bad place, a lot of ships, not unlike the Jakarta Bay, but through a very dedicated process, it was cleaned up. And today it's so clean that you can swim in the middle of Copenhagen, right in the middle of the harbor. And I think that all of that contributes to the happiness that we apparently have. The equality and equal opportunities are some of the core values that most Danes would adhere to.
Copenhagen was considered as one of the cities with the highest quality of life index in the world. Yeah. So what's the city's secret?
Well, it's my home city, so I'm not surprised, and I think in the last 20 years Copenhagen has gone through a remarkable development as well, from sort of perhaps a small, slightly provincial capital to a full-blown global capital with all the a la cartes in leisure time, opportunities, gastronomy, etc. But I think when I think back on living in Copenhagen and what I miss about living in Copenhagen is for example, the bicycle culture. You know, more than 50%, more than half of every Copenhagener uses a bike every day to go to work or to take the kids to school. And I can use again myself as an example. We did have a car when we lived in Copenhagen, but we almost never used it. On weekdays it was standing on the street because we took our bikes to work. And in fact I had one of these cargo bikes. I still have it here in Jakarta, almost a becak, where we put the kids into the cargo box and you know, we dropped them off at the kindergarten or in school, and then went on to, in my case, to the foreign ministry for work. That is a luxury. And although the weather can be terrible, if you have the right clothes on, you know, going to work, you get there refreshed, and when you leave again, you clear your mind by biking back home instead of sitting in traffic jams and not using your time for anything good. So you get a bit of exercise and you get something good out of it. So I think that's one of the secrets with Copenhagen. Another secret which is important for somebody like me, unfortunately being a foodie, is that the restaurant scene has simply exploded over the last 10-15 years. So today we have the highest concentration of Michelin star restaurants in Copenhagen. But even if you go below sort of that segment of very high-end restaurants, you have amazing, high quality, good value restaurants, because it trickles down. When you have extremely good restaurants at the top, the rest have to catch up, and that means that you can have all sorts of different gastronomy in Copenhagen, but a lot of it is focused on local ingredients, which is also in fact a sustainable way of eating, that you don't necessarily eat tomatoes from southern Spain or lemons from California, but that you try and eat the food that are produced locally. And I think that's an area where there's something in common with Indonesia and the focus on local produce, basically. And then I would just say urban development in general. The infrastructure is really good, but also the architecture is nice, and it's very easy to move around. And the last thing I would just mention is public transportation. We use bikes all the time, but the public transportation, the metro, the buses, the trains makes it very easy to commute in Copenhagen. And that's one of the differences with Jakarta, where it's slightly more difficult, at least these years, to do that.